Music is my life. I grew up in New York, which we call that the Mecca of music. Um, you know, Great environment. I have a real eclectic music background. Growing up in Queens, New York, I mean, you're just surrounded by everything. Of course, hip hop, gospel music, and jazz, and so forth. And all of that kind of worked to shape my musical taste as well as my musical influences as well too. Growing up in the church, gospel music was front and center in my life, always was. And I was kind of left with the task of being a church musician at an early age and had to learn how to teach the choir and parts and all that sort of thing. But again, I was doing all this for fun, just having fun with it. Wasn't thinking career or anything like that, just kind of what you did. And that helped me early on to develop skills that would, serve me later on. I had the opportunity to go to Queens College, one of the great music departments in the city of New York, and study, your classic, your theory. And with the formal training, you need the practical experience. And when you put those two together, what really solidifies your musicianship. A combination of formal training along with practical experience playing in bands and choirs and churches by that time. So that I continued to do throughout my early college training. In my senior year, I got an opportunity to go on the road with one of the guys from the neighborhood who had just made his name for himself, and we know him now as the rap mogul himself, Russell Simmons. He was just getting started and was putting together a band to go out on the road. And I saw this as my opportunity to have that kind of experience. So I left in my senior year, and for the next 2 years, found myself traveling on the road behind some early pioneers of rap, Curtis Blow, and playing in what we call the Orange Crush Band, that now is legendary. Decided after about 2 years I had my fill of that, went back to school. This time I went enrolled in the evening division of the Juilliard School, continuing my education in composition and arranging. Did that for a year and a half, and learned, again, a good deal about, how to put arrangements together, which I use to this day in my productions. Well, after doing an stint in the Juilliard School, I was still trying to find my way musically, and I was kind of, by that time I wasn't as into the church. I kind of was out there trying to find my way out in the world and wanting to be a producer and things of that nature. For the first time, the music producers were now almost as famous as the artists. Of course, you had your Teddy Rileys, and of course, the classics like Quincy Jones. All the success he was having with Michael brought him to prominence as a producer. And you had this age of producers. And as I was trying to figure out, okay, I write songs, I play. Usually you have to pick one particular specialty area, but I was just always eclectic. I could play, I could write, I could arrange. I loved the technology. I had now studied and learned how to work, find my way around the studio. And I just didn't know who I was. And then until this thing happened, the emergence of the studio or music producer. And finally I was like, that's who I am. That's the one thing that I saw that I could do that embodied all of these different things that I love doing. So I was now off on a quest to really become a producer in the music industry. In pursuing the goal of becoming a music producer, I was still young and still ambitious and wanting to be in quote unquote the R&B or whatever producer and so forth, and looking at the Teddy Rileys and things of that nature, and was pursuing taking that path and making demos. Had my home studio set up, and approaching the record companies, and I was making some inroads, but it seemed like I could never get past a certain point. It wasn't until I really just had an epiphany that I was being redirected. And now I know that it was the Lord that was not allowing me to go but so far with that, because that just was not the purpose of my life. And my purpose goes right back to this concept that wife and I came up with, HOPE. HOPE as an acronym, H-O-P-E, helping other people evolve musically through the medium of teaching, piano and voice, and of course having a recording studio where we We take artists that just sometimes they just come in and they have a song or songs that they've developed, and we help them go through the process of arranging that song and doing a professional recording of that song. We had gotten the assignment to go to move to Virginia, and my wife at the time, she had transferred her job, but even before that, it was always prophesied that we was going to move near water, and Lord made that happen, and we started to work in the Virginia vineyard there, and God sent us down there. We opened up the studio, and I tell you, it was just a floodgate of people, from students to recording clients, that we were able to help and became a kind of, I would like to think, a household name in the Virginia, Hampton Roads area there. Spent 15 years there, serving at different ministries, recording various artists. Got a chance to work with my good buddy Earl Bynum, and wrote things on his CD, and Earl was just experiencing the blessings of the Lord now. As we got this new assignment in Atlanta, the Lord just opened up the doors for us to come here and to set up shop. It hasn't been a year yet, but we've have replanted KR Music, our acronym that we use, HOPE, helping other people evolve musically. We're so proud that that so many people down through the years have evolved as a result of what we've imparted musically and in terms of training and recording. I always keep this up as an inspiration for me. I have, I'll call my wall of fame, which is basically, and it changes all the time. This is the latest version of it, but it really displays students, people who started out with me as students, just really coming in with just no other idea, but they had some kind of musical inclination, a feeling that they had a musical inclination, not with grandiose goals of these stars or superstars, just wanted to come in to see where that would take them. And through our training and working with them, you know, many of them started out just singing as vocal students, and then they evolved into songwriters and recording artists, and have, you know, put out, some of them, more than one CD as well. The Lord has directed us to a wonderful ministry that was just had opened their arms to us, and we have embraced us, and Light of the World Christian Tabernacle in Stockbridge, Georgia, under dynamic leadership of Archbishop Ruth Smith Holmes. And one of my first assignments there at the ministry was to help produce their first CD. And I was just amazed by the amount of talent that was already in the house, and I just really was the, you know, person to come together, the catalyst, just to bring it all together. We were really just one evening away from getting the final mixes together to send off to the duplicators, and I was working around the clock for 2 days, mixing and mastering and things of that nature, and into the wee hours of the night with a deadline in the morning to send everything off. And in the midst of that, this song just kept coming up in my spirit, and I'm saying, Lord, no. I mean, we're trying to get this thing done, and we're not, you know, there's no time for this, and it's 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and yet, you know, the song just keeps coming up, and the Lord is just nudging me to do this, so there's no time for anything else. And finally, I just yielded to the Lord and said, okay. And this little melody started just kind of coming out. Let's see. And as I was thinking about God and all that He's done for us and the sacrifice that He made, the words just came to me that He made the ultimate sacrifice. And the words just start coming, and the melodies. And I just, and with no time, the Lord just said to me, this is a song that doesn't need the grandiose arrangements. It's just piano and voice. You know, one of the philosophies of mine that I kind of share with my students and clients all the time, and this is just really my belief, I believe that as musicians, we're really just vessels. Music comes from God, from up above, comes down and just channels through us. I mean, that's the way it really should happen. And we become just these vessels that get filled up, and our purpose is to get that music out to others, to touch others. And if you are doing it properly, you will, as you give out to others, you become, depleted, and you need another filling. And that's just something I really just believe in, and that we're always asking the Lord to refill us. And so as we were kind of putting together the songs for the project, the Light of the World project, and I started to reflect on that. And I was driving home one day, and the idea of my philosophy that's always with me just came up and said, why don't you write something based on, what you're always talking about? And it just came to me of make me a vessel. And no sooner than that title popped in my head, I started being filled as a vessel. And I believe that it just came from God, and I just started, make me a vessel, pour in me, I'm empty. I want your anointing to fill me. And I started, one of the things I always tell people, songwriters have, now most of the time our phones have these recording devices where we can voice record. So I just, one hand grabbed my phone and just started singing. As I always say, the stuff that comes to you, the best stuff that comes to you, you really just, I don't take credit for it. It just came from God. I was just taking dictation. So I just recorded what I could, and got it on my phone, and I rushed back home and got to the piano and make sure I, got it down in some kind of fashion. Matter of fact, and to my good buddy David Weeks, as I was excited about it, I said, listen to this, and so forth. And he kind of agreed with me that there was something there. And then no sooner than that, I was introduced to a wonderful singer here in the area, who's they call her the Duchess of Gospel Music here. Dr. Pauline Key was introduced to me from the bishop at the church and the pastor, and we had a meeting coming up, and it was just all divinely appointed, because she came over and and she was invited to take part in the project. And I was like, well, I got this song, and it just fit like a glove. It was just the Lord's doing, and or as we say, it's the Lord's doing, and it was marvelous in our eyes. So we got together, and she just has embraced the song and loves it, and you can hear it when she sings her rendition of Make Me a Vessel. You just feel that it's just tailor-made for the situation, and the choir and the musicians all did an outstanding job. And when the Lord really brings things that way, it just becomes effortless. It was just one of those just effortless things that it's just, everything just flows. The music, the arrangement, the vocals, and we are always getting accolades that how much the song has blessed people, and just really bring that point home that we are vessels, and we pour out, and then we need a filling. So we just bless God for that, and we just hope other folk are blessed by that message of make me a vessel.